Hi, everybody. In today's episode, we're going to go revisit the Crumbley case. And if you don't remember that, I'm going to give you a quick recap. But she is back. Jennifer Crumbley is back in court asking for a new trial based on a discovery violation. Now, this all sounds very technical, but I'm going to break it down for you today. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Rebecca. Thank you for coming to the channel. Really appreciate it. And don't forget to hit that thumbs up. It helps the algorithm, so YouTube knows I'm out there. And subscribe. But more importantly, put that notification bell on all so you will get notified when there's a new video. Also, you're going to have to check your settings on your phone to make sure you're allowing notifications from YouTube, or you'll still miss it. So do that. All right, today we're going to talk about Jennifer Crumbley again. Jennifer is the mother of Ethan Crumbley. Now, Ethan Crumbley on November 30th of 2021 went into the Oxford High School and murdered with a 9mm 6-hour handgun, semi-automatic, that he got for Christmas from mom and dad, James and Jennifer Crumbley. And there's surveillance footage where this is on November 30th. Yeah. There's surveillance footage where he goes into the bathroom, gets his gun out, comes out of the bathroom, and starts walking down the hallway shooting. I think his intent was to go into some classrooms, but the teachers are really, really good. They got as many students as they could into those classrooms, and he was not able to enter the classrooms. So he ended up murdering Madison Baldwin, Tate Neer. Madison was 17, Tate was 16, Hannah St. Juliana, 14, and they all died that day. The next day, Justin Schilling, my namesake, I'm also a Schilling, no relation, he died in the hospital. So 4 murders, 7 others severely injured, various levels of injury. And so he is taken into custody at the scene without incident. He's not harmed in any way. After he was done shooting, he just sets the gun down, turns himself in, and he pled guilty in October of 2022. And is serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole after this extensive hearing, because he was a juvenile, 15 years old. So he's serving life without possibility of parole. So right after this happens, the prosecutors announce that they're going to go after the parents. And so Jennifer and James Crumbley, instead of showing up voluntarily for their arraignment as it was prearranged, they take off and they head towards Canada, and they're found in Detroit, Michigan. This all happened in Michigan. They're found in Detroit, Michigan, in this warehouse. First, let me show you Jennifer. So in case you don't remember, this is Jennifer, who's put on a huge amount of weight since she's been incarcerated. And this is where they were found, in Detroit, in this, it was like a warehouse where people were running businesses out of. But they had a friend who had an art studio there, and that's where they were found, in this hiding in this art studio. So they're taken into custody. They are charged both with involuntary manslaughter, 4 counts, 1 for each of the deaths. So they proceed to go to trial separately, even though they have same sets of attorneys. So there was 2 women representing both of them initially, and they had waived all the conflicts, but they eventually decided, yeah, we have a conflict. Mom was going to start to blame dad. Clearly, I predicted that one. So they ended up having separate trials, and those 2 women that were representing them split their firm. So one could represent one and one could represent the other. And I don't know if you remember the woman that represented Jennifer Crumbley during her, I think, opening or closing. One of them, she quoted Taylor Swift by saying, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes. And I'm like, oh, that's true. That's very true. So their negligence centered around the fact that the day of the shooting, Ethan had written on this math page a drawing of a semi-automatic handgun, pointing to the words, "The thoughts won't stop. Help me." In another section of the note, he was drawing a bullet with the words, "Blood everywhere." So between the drawing of the gun and the bullet is a drawing of a person who appears to have been shot twice and bleeding. And then below that figure in the drawing, there's a figure that's laughing. It's like an emoji. And then further down on the page are the words, "My life is useless and the world is dead." So so the teacher takes that math page to a counselor. Now, there's two individuals at this point that are involved, Nick Ejak and a guy named Hopkins. Now, I don't know which one's is which. One was a counselor, and I think one was maybe the principal. I don't remember what their roles were, but they bring Ethan down to the office when they see this math page, and they call his parents and say, we need to have a discussion here. So they come down to the school and they're taken into a meeting with Ethan where they have a lengthy discussion in that meeting. And Jennifer's main concern is, can I get back to work? Can I get back to work? And they're like, they didn't think he was suicidal. They had done a screening. They didn't think he was suicidal. But what they didn't do was check his backpack, because Ethan is allowed to go back to class, even though they had asked the parents, please take your son home, get him some mental health counseling within 48 hours. If you don't, we're going to report you to CPS, Child Protective Services. They opt not to take him home. They're seen walking out of the high school. They don't take him home, and shortly thereafter, Ethan starts his shooting spree. Yeah, killing those 4 people. So here is why she was in court. She is asking for a new trial, a judgment of acquittal or a new trial. And that's where you ask the judge to set aside the jury's verdict and just say, you're not guilty. And here's why. Because of those 2 individuals that had that meeting. Before they would talk to the police during the investigation, they lawyered up because they could and should have searched his backpack. They had the ability to do that. There's no privacy right there. Not once you're not on school grounds. They could have checked his backpack where that gun was. They didn't do it. Neither did the parents, but they didn't do it either. So they lawyer up. And before they'll talk to the prosecutors, the lawyers ask for immunity, use immunity, which it's the same thing Wendy Adelson got in the Adelson trial, which means anything that they say can't be used against them if they're tried later on for involuntary or whatever they might have been charged with. They ultimately never got charged because they agreed to this immunity, use immunity, and in exchange for their testimony against or their. So here's the rub here. The prosecution is saying, no, it wasn't in exchange for their testimony. The immunity was just so they would sit down and talk to us in an interview. It didn't extend to the trial. But even that's not enough for a new trial. What happened was during the discovery portion of the investigation where the lawyers are trying to figure out what's what, and the prosecution has a duty to turn over everything to the defense. And the defense said, asked for these copies of these immunities and never got them. And now that they have them, they're like, oh my God, you gave them use immunity. And that, if they had known about it, it would, I don't know if the defense didn't know about it or knew about it and didn't get them, but and the judge, there's no question, there's been a violation of discovery. But here it is. The judge said they had a duty to proffer the agreements during the discovery with respect to those 2 witnesses and they were going to sit down and talk about that 12-minute conversation that they had regarding Ethan Crumbley, showing him the math page. The judge has to find whether or not this violation undermines the confidence of the outcome. So, in other words, was what they said happened during this meeting material to the jury's decision to decide a verdict? And I would have to say, yes. Yes, it was material. Would the jury have convicted them without that information? And within that, we find that the parents gave him the gun for Christmas. We find that mom's impatient. She wants to get back to work. They don't want to take him home. They don't get him mental health counseling that day. All of this happens during this meeting. Would we have known about that otherwise? I don't think so. So this is what the judge has to decide. So they didn't take him. They didn't hug their son. They weren't interested. They wanted to get back to work. And those individuals probably would not have testified without those agreements, because I said all along, those two should be tried as well. If you're going to try these parents, which I agreed with, these two school counselors, or whatever their titles were, should have checked his backpack, should have, or insisted that they take him home. You could take him home. And they did not. They let him go back to class with the backpack, with the gun. But this is why charges never got brought against those two. Of course, the prosecution is, no, we never intended to charge them. We just wanted to talk to them, and we couldn't talk to them without these agreements. So that literally, and Jennifer now has a really, really good appellate attorney. I was really fascinated by his argument and his banter with the judge about this. And he's obviously a law professor, because he had several of his students helping him pro bono with this appeal. And so now it is up to the judge now to go back, do a lot of research, look at all the cases that were cited during this argument on Friday, and make a decision. Is she going to grant acquittal, set aside the jury's verdict, and say you're not guilty, or is she going to give Jennifer Crumbley a new trial? And I will let you know what the outcome of that is. But super, super fascinating. Yeah. So let me know what you think in the comments about those two school officials. If their testimony had not come in to this trial, would the jury still have convicted them? I mean, mom's boinking some guy out in the parking lot of Costco. Jennifer, you know who you are. You're going to remember that one. That was the butt of jokes for weeks. All she cared about was her horses. Dad was busy doing Uber. Just a strange family dynamic there. And their son's behavior before that was in question. So should these parents have, even before the day of the shooting, gotten him counseling? They didn't secure the gun. So is all of this enough, absent what occurred during that meeting, to convict Jennifer Crumbley? And where's James Crumbley's appellate attorney? Why isn't he making the same argument? Or is he, and we're just not covering that? I have no idea. So let me know. Take care. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.